Hello.
Good evening and welcome. Not that there'll be anybody there yet, but
oh yeah, Eric's in. Hello, Eric.
Good evening, Eric. Welcome back to me. So I saw your logo come up then. I'm trying to look at it.
Hey, he's at work. Hello, mate. Future guest of ours, we're going to have Jamie on.
Yeah, definitely. At some point. Not seen much of you, Jamie, for a while actually. It must have been grafting quite a lot.
A gruesome twosome. Oh, he knows as well then.
Nice to see you. I'm back, I'm back.
Anyway, we're just going to ramble on about investigations.
Lost timing, isn't it? My battery's just run out. Never mind, I've got another. I've got a spare,
Yes, mate, yeah. I will do that, and we'll sort a date out when you know your schedule, mate.
Yeah. Did you manage to get yesterday off, Jamie? With being Halloween.
Hello, Lorna.
Good evening, Lorna. Is this the gruesome twosome, as we supposedly?
Yeah, we could use that as a side thing, couldn't we?
Yeah, we could. We might stay together as buddies, We seem to have been only ones that survived, don't we? So.
Well, yeah. But yeah, I mean, was it not last weekend? The weekend before, I had the privilege of going to an event at the Kent Life Museum, which is at the bottom of Bluebell Hill, and they've transported some buildings there, and they already had a few there, but it's set up like an old farming thing where they educate kids and people go there for day trips, etc., etc. But we found out it's incredibly active.
When you say transported, what do you mean? Do you mean that they've literally brought buildings from other locations and set them up there? Right.
I don't quite know it, but I know one of them is the house that's there. They call it Rebecca's house.
Right.
But apparently, not so long ago, a woman who went there, she recognised the building from previously being just down the road from her, and she said, "Well, that place was haunted when it was at our place."
Yeah, I was just going to say, did you do any research onto where these buildings have come from?
Yes, so that house was haunted at previous location, and of course is still haunted now. So,
right, which proves the point that spirits go with material things.
Yes, and I think they've left quite a few items in it as well. That actual house, people have actually caught a figure stood in the window.
Yeah, I would imagine actually the buildings like that are actually more active or visibly active than they were previously, because the spirits that are residing there are going to be totally confused as to what's happening.
Yeah, the outside looks different.
Well, yeah, I mean, but it's just like, say for us, that we chucked him back in a van and transported miles and miles away, and then van doors open. What the hell, you know what I mean? We're going to be confused, so it's just the same for them, really, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. But the properties we were allowed to investigate there is there's Rebecca's house, There's a farmhouse, there's a chapel, there's a community hall, and there's 2 cottages that are right next door to each other. I'm assuming the farmhouse was always there because it seems to be that's probably what it was before.
And what's this place being set up for? Is it for a particular reason?
Well, it's like a museum as such, where you know they dress up in old farming gear, and the kids come in and they educate them. I've got livestock there. There's donkeys and ducks and chickens, etc., etc. So it's probably just a look back at how farming was, you know, probably 100 and 200 years ago. So
yeah. So are these buildings respective of its use now, or I mean, you'd have thought that if it was something like what shall we say, like coal mining museum, they just simply used an old coal mine and they've kept it running with the cottages attached for that purpose, to show people how things were back in day.
Yeah.
Why didn't they just build something, a replica or something like that, rather than fetching these buildings in? You know,
I honestly don't know. Perhaps it was cheaper.
Yeah.
Perhaps it was.
You know, brick by brick. That's a right undertaking, isn't it?
Well, I don't know if they've done that, to be honest. I know they can move buildings as a going concern, can't they? But it's not an easy job.
That depends on size of them as well. I mean, logistics are that up to a certain size, yeah, you can get them on a wide load, you know, like they transport these caravans and just have an escort. But when it comes to something over a certain size that won't fit down a road, then you've got to demolish them and then rebuild it.
Yeah.
So logistics of it must have been, you know, pretty hard to sort. But as you said, to transport everything that was in it as well and replace it, it's no mean feat.
But I think out of all the locations I've been on an event, it was probably the most active and probably the most the best place to take somebody who just wants to go for an experience of it.
Yeah. Rather than on a paranormal, rather than a museum type thing, or best of all.
Yeah, I mean, there is definitely some intelligent spirits there. In fact, there was one we were in the chapel, and but there was a stack of cards, and we all took one, and I held mine to my chest, and I know a couple of others did, and we were going round. We had the Franks box going, and asking the spirit that was there, can they tell us what's on our cards? And it was funny because he got all the numbers right, but they didn't like to say the symbols.
Right. Yeah. So how did this come about then? If it's set up as a museum, how come they had a paranormal event?
Because the PIGS, who is an event team in this area, they obviously found out about this place and inquired, or perhaps they were contacted, but they have started doing events there. So I think this was probably about the third one, the third or fourth time they'd been there. And I saw it and thought, well, you know, it's somewhere I've never been. Let's go and have a look at this. So, but I took our apprentice, my wife, and 2 of our clients actually came who wanted to have an experience outside their own house. So,
have we got any comments?
Yes, what have we got? Yeah,
Hmm.
to a certain degree.
Yeah, to some extent. I mean, there isn't much really that's not. How can we put this? A haunting means it's active, but there isn't much of this planet that's not covered by spirit.
Yeah,
Whether it's active or not is a different matter. I mean, the spirit's floating around in ether all the time, and I mean everywhere. Um, but to interact with them is a different matter because they are slightly on a different plane, and most of the time they're coming back to this plane when we're interacting. For me, most of the time, the way that I've experienced it anyway is that they're just floating. They could be watching me now. Could be somebody sat outside of me, but they're not in this time slot. That I can't explain it. What's the word I'm looking for? Yeah,
yeah. Dimension. They're not in the
that's
same
it.
dimension yet.
Yeah. So it's surprising, isn't it? So
Oh, Robert says, here's an idea. Is a house still haunted if you move the house? Well, in this
well,
case, yes.
that's what we've just been saying. Yeah, this place that Ian's just been to, some of the buildings have been transported from other places. So and they're active. So that says yes, definitely.
Yeah, and it's probably the only uh like event place where you go and actually all the areas are actually, well, apart from the base camp, I don't think there was anything there, which is the main function room they use. But there's a restaurant, but mainly the buildings that are used for the museum purposes are all active, which is
Yeah.
a surprise, really.
Yeah. I find it fascinating. Like I said, I mean, spirits do move. They're into, yeah, the silly Ian. Whoa.
Hey,
Yeah, I find it fascinating, and it's surprising. Like we say, I mean, there's certain places I've been doing since the start of a particular, what's the word, nasty bug that started going about.
hmm.
Rather than saying anything else, we'll leave it at that. But since then, I started doing churches, and I've done a hell of a lot of churches, and the differences are immense. Everybody seems to think, because from outside, let's face it, to people that don't frequent churches, they all look pretty similar from the outside.
Yeah,
But there is change. There is different styles, obviously. I mean, the spire types are Church of England, the flat roof types are Norman, and then you've got variations. But they vary everything from hexagonal to L shape to cross shaped, T shaped.
hmm.
So inside, they are absolutely every single one is different. Every single one. And again, depending on the age of them and everything like that, will give differences in the thickness of the walls, everything from thickness of walls, type of stained glass, whether they're original overlays or painted or replacement. Modern replacements are just etched rather than different coloured glass. They're etched and painted.
Hmm.
So it's surprising the difference. I mean, there's one in it's at Buxton, near Buxton, that it's an old church ish. There were
Hmm.
an earlier one there, 14th century. The church that stands there is 18th century. So it was built with what we class as modern radiators, for example. But they had all of them had boiler houses built in underground to feed these radiators.
Yeah.
Big massive things. But you got corrugated metal panels on floor because everything had to look right.
Yeah.
Back in the day, there were none of this cover it up with a bit of trellis. it was made to look part of church.
Yeah.
So these metal grids in floor kept your legs warm while you were sat there. A lot of people don't realise that pews are quite a modern invention. They didn't exist before, say, 17th century. So, and at that time, it were only for the well-to-do. Well, they did use it, actually. Yeah, they did use ammonia for a lot of things. Here's one for you. Here's a bit of useless information. But there used to be a pea collector back in the day, and they used to collect the actual the secretion around the edge of the bucket or whatever receptacle you used for your pee, and that's saltpeter, believe it or not. And we produce that. We produce saltpeter, which is used in fuses and fireworks and all them sorts. It's good stuff. Is that stuff? It goes into all sorts. I mean, the main ingredient in hair dyes is ammonia, which is basically we produce it now artificially, but back in the day, yes, 90% on it were pea. So nice one there, Robert. More useless information.
Yeah.
As I'm on this train of thought with churches, I'm going to mention one of my last investigations because it caused a few issues, actually. As I was saying, they're all different, and this particular one I dropped on. It's in Doncaster area. It's as much as I'm telling you. We dropped on it, and it took ages to find. Literally couldn't find it for some strange reason. It took me down this blind little lane to a gate where I had to back out and back in a big sort of Jaguar up a dirt track. It's not easy. And I had to get in this other gate hole, and it took me about 8 turns before I could get out. And I was within 100 yards of this church, and we still couldn't find it. Eventually, I saw a woman in a window, and I just like beckoned her to ask her where it were, and she was sat there smirking. She knew what we were looking for, but she weren't going to tell me unless we asked. So I asked. And she pointed us in the right direction. And anyway, soon as I walked through that door, there was an atmosphere. It was of 3 parts, which most churches are, because you'll get an original bit with the bell tower or what was a bell tower, and then you'll get the praying side of it, and then you'll get the altar, which is usually the last thing to be built, believe it or not. It was just a pulpit, basically, and a room. That's how they started. But this first part was very, very eerie, very odd. It was mucky. I've never seen a church as dirty in my life. Somebody had used a mop that was, it were already mucky when they started using it, and there were smear marks all over. More cobwebs than I've ever seen. It was proper, I would call it derelict, but it suggested that it wasn't because it had got things in there, tables, chairs. It had got a rudimentary sink, an old stainless steel sink. So it had been modernized, or shall we say updated at some point to some extent. But, there was a big polythene cover covering this. I don't know what it were because I didn't look at it properly. I didn't touch it. I was just eccles, back of my neck. I'd got eccles, and I was trying my damnedest to protect myself. To be fair, putting a bubble around me because I felt I was being attacked. I really felt like I was being attacked, but by what? I don't know. Normally, I'm sensitive and I can tell what it is. On this occasion, I couldn't. It was just something.
Yeah.
So I'm looking. I'm trying to do a video. I'm commenting, and all the time I'm saying it's weird. This place, it's weird, because I didn't know what else to say. But on leaving the place, my sat nav wouldn't work. All the equipment that we had was drained.
Yeah.
We had to put it straight on charge. Car started playing up, and it's not been right since. There was lots and lots of things. Now, people can say, oh, you're paranoid, but I'm not that type of person. So for things like that to happen all the time,
Yeah.
as you know what it's like, don't you? You get these places where you think, what the hell's going off? We should know, but we don't. We still get surprised 40 years down the line, and that place surprised me, and I need to go back, and I will go back. But yeah, it's on my page. Now, anybody that's sensitive, if you scroll down my page, because there's hundreds of churches, what I will say is you don't have to scroll very far to find the one in question. But it's on there, and see if you have a look, just see what you get, because it's different. It's definitely different. But that's my latest one, and I've not been too brilliant since, to be fair. Yeah, well, if you're over, we can do. It's an odd place, Eric. Have a look at my page, like I've said, so you'll be able to see it. See what you sense, see what you pick up. It's definitely different. I've got one more comment.
And the funny thing, I think I told you this last week, Bri, but the funny thing was, while I was at this Kent Museum, somebody kept playing with my chain.
Yes.
Now, I'm right-handed, so I have a specific way of putting it on. Anybody who wears a chain will understand this. I have the latch in one hand and the link in the other, and you go like that, boom. Well, anyway, 3 times my chain in 3 different places. It started in the chapel, and then we were in the cottages, and then we were in Rebecca's house. The 3rd time it was done, and the 3rd time somebody actually saw my chain go up my neck. That's bizarre enough, but when I got home, imagine it was 3:30 in the morning, and I'm trying to take my blinking chain off, and I couldn't get it undone. So I don't know, I'm fiddling around, and I just thought for a second, I'll just try the other way, and I pulled my chain off, and it was back to front.
Yeah, it's
impossible.
It's not, though. Not to me, it's not. I mean, I don't know if you've heard this before, or you've heard me mention it before. The way that I've formulated that spirit travel, when you'll hear people say, "Oh, you've taken something home with you. You've taken something home with you." Well, where is the last thing on your body that you can see? What's the place on your body that is the most vulnerable, shall we say, to attack?
Yeah, probably the back of your neck, isn't it?
Correct. You can't see it without using a mirror. You can't feel it hardly. There's a certain spot. So I formulated the idea that a spirit will attach itself like a cape. Because it's less likely to be detected until it's got home with you and it's unattached and starts causing mischief.
Yeah.
You're not going to know it's there. So whenever I do an investigation that's a little bit weary or you've got some vibes about it, I always wear a cross, but I put the cross to the back of my neck. I wear it the wrong way around. And that works dividends. It really does. So, and you can do the same thing if you're not religious. You can do the same thing with crystals. In fact, double up. Have a cross and a crystal.
Yeah.
Double sort of protection. What's that one? Eric even talking like... I don't know what that means, Robert. What's that mean? Enlighten me. Come on. If it's Eric, it's Eric.
You said I meant to say Eric talks like Bry. I want to. He's picking up the Yorkshire lingo. That's what it is.
Yeah, I do tend to miss now and again odd word out. I don't deny. We like that as Yorkshire folk.
Yeah.
A crystal cross. Yeah, perfect. Good idea, that, Eric.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea.
Start making them crystal crosses with a little gadget in the middle or whatever.
I'll tell you what, Eric, if you want to knock us up a diamond one each, we'd be quite happy.
Yeah, that'd be mint. Much appreciated. We'll buy his own castle then.
Yeah.
But yeah. So you've done. You did that investigation. You've done two, though, haven't you?
This weekend just gone, I was at the True Crime Museum again with met up with Barry Guy, and we did there. It's about the 7th time I've been there, but I keep going back because every time I go back, I'm thinking I'm not going to beat last time, but we do every single time. And I have to say, we probably had what was the funniest communication I've ever had in my entire time in the paranormal field. We did a little mobile phone trick, which I found out was started by Jenny Sullivan. So I'm guessing Barry's probably seen her do it on some show or something. And what we had was 2 mobile phones connected by WhatsApp, one in the what they call the science lab area of the True Crime Museum, which is where the toilets are at the back. And we were in another room, which wasn't that far away, but it was far enough away that we couldn't hear audibly anything going on in that area. But so we had someone with the phone asking questions. They asked, "Is there anybody in the room?" And the reply we got was yes. Oh, good. Okay. So they said, "My name's so-and-so. Can you tell me your name?" And the name Albert came back. Then Phil, who is one of Barry Guy's team, said, "What are you doing, Albert? Can you tell us what you're doing?" And he goes, "I'm having a shit."
That's very, very apt, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I thought, my God, now the question that's in my head is, why? You know, did he die on the toilet? This is something I'm dying to find out, if anybody died in that toilet.
Well, you can imagine mess, can't you, if it's all like Ghostbusters with Toad Slimer.
Well, yeah.
or what's the other one? Oh my God, what do they call it? First time I've ever seen on a film. Casper.
Yeah.
With other ghosts at house were having a meal and crapping all over.
Yeah. But
so yeah, very, very, very apt.
I mean, not being funny, but if you got to do that in the afterlife as well, I mean, what a waste of time that is. But yeah, so there's a mystery to that one. Did the guy die on the toilet and he still thinks he's alive? Or
No. The only thing close that I've experienced in that respect was a place called Spofford. And there is the remnants of toilets. I mean, most places, let's face it, it were a castle. Fortified manor house, yes, but it were a castle. There were proper ramparts and walkways through cavities and what have you. And the toilets were proper old-fashioned medieval drop toilets.
yeah,
But that's what I call them, is drop toilets, because you just sat on the edge of a slab and crap down cavity, and you'd have somebody come and clean them out once a month or whatever. They'd have the rights. It'd be a business for them, so they'd come and collect it all. Ugh, imagine that. But the only thing close to what you've just mentioned was I was doing an investigation at Spofford, said castle, and I heard what can only be described as a plop dropping down in this cavity where the toilet used to be, because it just sounded like a cow pat hitting floor. And I didn't realise until after exploring. Obviously, it was dark. We did a nighttime investigation. The first time I'd ever been, and weren't till later on that I realised that these toilets were above where I'd heard this plop. So, but that's the only thing I've come close to experiencing. I'm glad I weren't stood in that cavity, because would I have experienced it? You know, would it have hit my head instead of floor?
oh yeah, could have been an interesting one, couldn't it?
Yeah, but that place is that's a very, very, very active place. It's one of the most active places I've been, but not in a bad way. The activity in that place, there's nothing untoward at all. But there is experience. There's an old fireplace that they used to torture people because it's a big old-fashioned medieval fire opening, and they used to stand them on this ledge and burn them to torture them, and you can experience the feeling that what they call it, the after effects of it. If you've got any senses about it, you can stand on that ledge and you can feel burning, and you can smell it. You can smell that. Oof, it's not nice. Not nice at all. But a lot of the place has been altered so much that it's unrecognisable as a castle. It looks more like remnants of a cathedral type building.
Okay, yeah.
The majority of the living quarters are actually underneath what is now like a picnic field. It's just a field in the middle of this little estate. But that's where most of the building were. There's a couple of giveaways to it. The stairways that go up from the old what's left, the cathedral part, up onto the field. But there's one little stone staircase, well worn, and I mean it is well worn. It's sagging where people have walked. You know what I mean? One of them sort.
Yeah.
But it's blocked off. It goes up about 8-9 foot, about 20 steps, but it doesn't go anywhere. It's blocked off because the field is above it. So, but he said it's a weird place. It's got that's got different timelines to it, because there's no railway banking that wasn't there when Manor were built.
Yeah.
There is a golf course topside that wasn't there. There is obviously the tunnels that go under crisscross underneath this railway banking.
Yeah.
Which is weird because they're on different tangents as well. There's a tunnel that just goes nowhere. It's just meshed off, and it's about 20 foot above the field and a house at the back of it. Where it went originally, don't know. It must have been a viaduct of some sort. But the other one, the other tunnel that sets off from the same angle, drops down, and that's 20 foot down. When you get to the end of this walkway tunnel, you can look, squish your face up against mesh, and look down, and the river at the side, which this is where water's coming from, the tunnel next to it. So that tunnel drops 20 foot, but the one you're walking on doesn't. It's very odd. It's very odd. It's disorientating at one point. And to think that above that you've got a railway banking that goes nowhere again. It doesn't go any further than the mesh. Everything's been chopped off. So there must have been a viaduct or something.
Yeah.
But when you think that railway banking it's got to be at least another 15, 16 foot above the tunnel one. So that's 30 odd foot above the field and the house that's adjoining. That's some landscaping that at some point.
Yeah.
It's like someone's just come and taken it all away. It's very odd. But it's interesting. If you're interested in architecture and geology, anybody that likes out like that would have a field day. And there's no reference to it. You can't find any reference beyond the railway and the actual little plot that surrounds Castle. Everything, there's no reference. There's no maps. It just says what's there now.
Strange,
So
isn't it?
when it was changed, I don't know. It's odd. It's really odd. So you need to come and do Spofford. Come up and do Spofford. You'd be surprised.
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be something in the libraries, isn't there, to when and where it's been changed. You would have thought.
Yeah, I've looked and I've tried, and there is the odd picture of how it was, but there seems to be big swathes missing.
Yeah.
But I'll have another go at some point. Have we any comments?
Have we any comments? Not of recent.
Right.
They must be listening intently.
Well, at least we are. We're doing a Jackanory, aren't we? So that's all right. So that's because, as I say, I haven't been podcasting. I've been silent. I've not been too good, so I haven't been out anywhere because my motor's still not right. I need another payday to be able to get it sorted, to be able to get out and do some more. And as soon as I am, I shall be on my travels and get some new footage for my page.
Yeah. Robert's listening to Bride's Big Hole.
I could answer that, Robert, but I'm being diplomatic as always.
Yeah. It's yeah. Giving Eric some more lingo.
Have you got alternative pipeline, Ian?
Oh, I've got nothing in the pipeline as yet. But yeah, I have heard our apprentice has got somebody that wants us to investigate. Oh, my granddaughter's got a friend who, not far from here, lives in a haunted farmhouse. So they would like us to go around and just do a little investigation just to see who's there. That should be fun.
Definitely. Have you got any dates for it? Have you done any research at all?
No, I don't like doing research beforehand, but I'm guessing the place has been there quite a while because it's quite an old farmhouse. But yeah, it's got a basement and an attic that are both active apparently.
Yeah,
So
that's a little bit different, that, isn't it? Having
is, yeah.
both extremities rather than living quarters.
Well, they've probably got stuff going on in the living quarters, but you know how life is. If you're not paying attention, you probably miss it all the time. But probably the areas you don't visit much are the ones where you tend to pay attention.
Yeah. I'd love to be able to get back down to a place called Winchcombe. It's in Gloucestershire.
Thank you, Rita.
My uncle used to run a dairy from it, but originally it was an old coaching inn.
Yeah.
And it had an entrance between buildings, obviously into the backyard, where it had been converted into a dairy, where it kept milk floats and everything. But this entrance was cobbled, half and half cobbled and half concrete. And my uncle wanted to expand, but he couldn't expand outwardly because all the land was spoken for, everything like that. But he needed more storage space. So he looked into deeds to see if there were any, obviously any cellars or anything like that. With being an inn, 9 times out of 10, you've got a basement where you keep your barrels.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure enough, when you looked on deeds, there should have been an opening in this archway to a beer cellar, but it had been concreted over. So he duly got it all opened up. And when he went down, they found these barrels, and there was about 3 families all being put in these barrels, and they were victims of plague, which, again, me being sensitive but not knowing anything, the ability I had as a child, I had no clue how to use it. But I always used to say to my uncle when we visited, are the people downstairs still there? And he always said, shut up. Like they always did with me. My parents always said, shut up, you barn pot. Because, just fob me up because they thought I were crackers. Well, I thought I were crackers. But it's since come to light that it's an ability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of them do.
Yeah. No more so. There's certain cities, obviously, from Roman times, because Romans built most of the
main ones, didn't they?
Yeah, most of the major roads. So it's places like Cirencester, York. Even though York is known, it's Jorvik, known for Vikings, but the Romans were there before them. Yeah. And the Vikings adopted a lot and just built over top.
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely.
The funny thing is, you can see signs of old Roman roads where the potholes are, and you generally find that the Roman road's in better nick than the road that's on top of it.
Yeah, I mean, at the top of my street, there's one little section between houses because it's a back street. It's basically the back street was it was a municipal road. It's unadopted. It's still a private road, my road. I'm the only council house down this street. But at top, right at top, where it sort of takes a blip of a rise, and there's still the cobbles there. And it's a thin layer of tarmac over the top, just to make it smooth. But on either edge, where gutters were, the gutters are still cobbled gutters, which is, and there's a lot around here. I find that your substrates as well tell a story. They can give you a date. We've got a particular substrate that they used. Like when you're laying a road, it'll be cinder in a lot of places, or limestone in the most cases. But in our area and the edge of Derbyshire and that, you can date the substrate of the road because they used spoils from a mine called Blue John, which is a semi-precious stone now, and going up in value because it's not being used. The only one mine in country where it came from ceased to exist in 1700. So you can date these roads simply if you find Blue John spoil to 1700. And it's surprising, isn't it? You know what I mean? What people use, you can date by dating what it's been made from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's surprising how many cobbles are left. There is a lot of cobbled roads left. It's just that, like you said, the tarmac over, or sandstone, or even limestone put over the top, or as in there's a road that before bypasses. I mean, a lot of bypasses are to blame for getting rid of the old-fashioned system.
Yeah.
Before roundabouts, we don't need roundabouts. We don't need half as many roundabouts and traffic lights as what we've got. We don't. But there's a road near me that it's the old road, and it literally skirts round it. It's actually a shorter road than the one that's existing now. The one that exists now is a bypass with a roundabout, and across it's got 4 exits off it. The old road goes up to edge at roundabout and then skips off to right. So it's a bend. There was no call for a roundabout, it's just a bend.
Yeah.
But that road as was is now a footpath, and the grasses covered the road. And unless you knew it were there, you wouldn't know it were there.
Yeah.
It's just a path. So, because obviously, well, it's just overgrown. Grass has grown over the top on it. You wouldn't know it were there.
Yeah. When Eric comes over, you have to take him to see the cobbles.
There's loads, though, isn't there? There is loads.
Yeah. And then you could take him to Bayes Horvis Loaf.
Nah, don't get me started on places like that. I mean, it's a travesty. But for me, a lot of these places that are frequented now, it's a shame. And they should be ashamed of themselves to some extent. You get one little high street, maybe a couple of back streets that you can see they're old.
Yeah.
But are they milking the fact that they've been on a program, or somebody's written about the place, or the historic? There's one little historic part about it, and that's it. But the infrastructure's not being changed at all.
No.
So do we go to now? But yeah. Well, that's same in principle as the Maui. Is it Maui on Christmas Island and all that, where they've realised that these heads, giant heads, they're actually full-grown statues, but there's only heads above ground. They've started to dig them out, haven't they? So, yeah, I think it's same the world over. I mean, time stands still for nothing, really.
No.
But yeah, we're one of these villages like Howarth and Holmfirth, last at Summer Wine Country. What people don't realise is, last at Summer Wine, yes, the house is there. Yes, there's a museum there. Yes, there's a cafe there. But there is loads and loads of places that they're used in the programme all over Yorkshire, all over South Yorkshire, West Yorkshire. So there's more to these soaps and serials than one place, one village.
Yes.
But they all seem to take credit for it. Anyway, what's all this lot got to do with paranormal? Nothing, I hear you say.
Haunt. Well, cobblestones could be haunted too.
Yes. Yeah, Easter Island, Robert. Yeah. Same world over. But we have got a lot of heritage. So my battery's going down. I hope my credit still hangs on because we're running out of credit as well. I've not been on much. I've been trying to save it because I don't know. I've changed my contract.
Yeah.
What it is, I've changed my contract. I've gone from pay as you go to pay monthly because I've got a rate bargain. It only cost me 14 quid a month, which is immense for me.
Well, I won't tell you. I only pay a tenner.
Who's that way?
Gift gaff.
Oh yeah. But how many gig do you get for that?
60 at the moment.
I'm getting 100. So but it's pretty similar then, isn't it? Unlimited everything else. Unlimited everything else. Just 100 gig. So, which is not bad. Plus, the beauty about this one is I can ring them up and I can talk to them. Which is what I need because I'm a duff when it comes to tech, as you know.
Robert saying, was in Blackpool Ghosts in the Palace. There's a YouTube about Ghosts of Blackpool.
Yeah, apparently in a few years' time, you'll have a ghost that's telling blue jokes because he says he's going to come and haunt the place, and that's all chubby. He's going to haunt the place.
Chubby Brown.
Told Chubby. He's done that place since he started.
But yeah, so any of the people in the UK, I highly recommend both the Kent Life Museum and the True Crime Museum in Hastings, because there is another one. I don't quite know where it is.
And what's this place in Nottingham? Because that's more accessible to me.
Nottingham. When we went up there, we did Ashwell Prison, which during the day is used as a paintball thing.
Right. No.
Unusual, but there you go. And we did Derby Jail and the Justice Courts in Nottingham, which is very good.
Yeah. You didn't call it Bolsover then?
Hey?
Bolsover Castle, that's apparently very, very active.
No, haven't been there. But that was the 3 locations on a weekend. But the Nottingham High Courts, I was surprised how far underground that goes. It's amazing because from outside you think, okay, we go down, and then you go in and then you go down the floor and you go, okay, and then there's another floor. But once you've gone past one layer down, it's all like tunnels underground, and you just keep going, and you think, bloody hell, how much more can there be down here?
See, I'd be knackered. I'd need a trolley.
Yeah, it was just like, wow. I think it went down about 3 or 4 levels, I think.
Yeah, it's a feature of the area. It really is. Nottingham, Derbyshire, South Yorkshire. There's a lot of places. In fact, Sheffield, it has a place called the Megatron. It's actually got the name Megatron. And they've just started doing tours, walking tours of the place. But a lot of it involves water. You wouldn't think so of a place called like Sheffield, but yeah, a lot of it is submerged. So there is boat tours as well, but it's all subterranean. Because above ground, you wouldn't know. There is a canal, but that's about it. The canal and a river. They're your two main water features in Sheffield. But so to get a good subterranean tour by boat is odd. But there's also walking tours as well.
Eric says, "Ooh, paintballs and ghosts. I'm in."
Yeah, we could definitely do a bit like of a Casper or a Ghostbusters, couldn't we? Without.
Well, I will say about Ashwell Prison, there was we were in a cell and there was somebody that I helped move on, and then someone else turned up and wasn't too happy about the fact I'd done that.
Yeah.
There's someone with quite a bad attitude walking around that place. But
well, it's not surprising, is it? I mean, when you start to send the pals to the light.
well, yeah, a typical Scotsman type. Oh, who's that then?
Yeah, no, listen. That's why we've got so many Scots in Yorkshire.
Yeah. See, I'm not tight. I'm just very sensible with my money.
I would say the same, Ian. Honestly, I would, because I'm quite a generous chap, really. That's why I've got the money, because I'm too generous. But it's weird, isn't it? We look after his money in some ways, and then we do in others. Crazy.
Exactly. See,
it's like if an ice cream van goes past on a Sunday, we'll go out and pay extortionate money when we've got chalk ices in the fridge.
Well, yeah, true. And you know, you can never look down your nose at a bottle of Glenfiddich.
Well, yeah, I can actually. I don't touch whiskey. I'm like take after my dad for that. Could sup anything apart from whiskey. I don't know what it is. Sends me nasty. I get dafter. I get more jovial with the alcohol. Anything other than whiskey. Whiskey just I don't know. It doesn't agree. Doesn't agree.
Yeah. And Robert's saying a Jaguar, lol. Well, that is one thing. I'm exactly the same. I've got a M Series BMW parked outside the house, but
yeah, look, the brilliant cars, lovely cars, smooth.
something.
And as daft as it sounds, people think that they are really heavy on fuel, but believe it or not, they're not. They're not as bad as people think. Jeremy Clarkson proved that by driving up Scotland and back, didn't he? On one tank.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I suppose they're all right if you like. If you like them, everybody has a favourite, don't they? So and it wasn't a case of it's my favourite. It was a case of it came along at the right price at the right time.
Yeah.
And they're brilliant. It's a lovely car. It's just when they do go wrong, it's the parts. And there's lots of different cars that cost a bit on parts, and mine's one of them.
Yeah, so's mine. But there you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I keep making. Well, they keep doing recalls on mine at the moment, which I don't mind because they're free, and then I get to have a brand new. I had a brand new i4 electric BMW last time, which was an experience. My God, they go.
Yeah, and they also stop quite quick along.
Well, yeah. They are very quick off the mark, but I'm still not convinced about electrics.
No.
But of course, every time I go over there, they've got an M4 competition sitting in the showroom, haven't they? And to make matters worse, my wife likes the look of it, so
they're not reliable. That's the problem, and the death traps. There's too many of them setting on fire.
Yeah, but the electric ones, yeah, definitely.
Anywho, we have managed an hour.
We have. Well, hey.
It don't seem like 2 minutes. So thank you, everybody that joined us, which wasn't a lot tonight, but hopefully next week will be better. We should have a subject and maybe a guest. You never know.
You never know. Yes, exactly. So thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.
Cheers, guys. See you
Cheers.
later.
Bye.